Hello summoners, welcome back to the channel, and today we will be talking about Battlegrounds. And it's back. It has some rank rewards also, tier 3 alpha and tier 6 basic fragments if you get into top 2500 ranks, which is probably not going to be very easy. I'm gonna try for it. Top 1000 has even better rewards like 17,000 tier 6 basic fragments and 13,500 tier 3 alpha. So it's definitely good to have, but again it would probably require a lot of wins. Like personally, I win one or sometimes I win two in a row and then I lose two in a row. It's kind of hard to go up overall, and the matchups, they have been all around. Like sometimes I find people who have like one or two rank 3 champions and I just steamroll over them. Sometimes I find people who are not only paragons, like they have a lot of rank 4 champions, and yeah, overall even the 6-star roster is just very very high signature level, and all of the newer characters who I haven't had practice fighting in Alliance 4 or something, because I'm platinum 3, a very high platinum 3 actually, so kind of in the platinum 2 tier 3 Alliance 4 range. So yeah, that is pretty much how I feel about Battlegrounds. I still love them. I did like 1 or 2 hours in the evening, and then even now after editing the video before doing the voiceover, I was like, I kind of feel like doing 1 or 2, probably have some energy now. I ended up using a refill, and I don't know where the last hour went by, and now it's like midnight and I'm doing this recording. But anyways, first fight going to be Red Hulk versus Professor X. Pretty straightforward fight, ended up with a lot of health, but ended up losing the round. It was close. He used Elsa Bloodstone, who I really like, think she's very underrated, versus my Void. Void is a champion who's not particularly good defender. Thought he would kind of, time is a big factor here, so I thought like the SP1, it has a slight delay. You have to keep in mind like his debuffs and thing, you might take a little bit damage from there. I kind of thought like he would do a little bit more than that, because using him on offense, I have used him in one fight today against Thing, and I timed out. The time really does not favor him, especially because my 6-star one is not at a high signature level. Second fight was pretty easy. It's just a Celsius Spider-Man. Ended up making a mistake there, and at this point I thought I might lose this, because taking hits in Battlegrounds usually kind of means it's it. And but Venom overall is obviously great for this fight. He will not be Spider-Verse champion, will not be able to evade, so it was a very straightforward fight. Should not have gotten hit there, but still ended up with a respectable amount of health and pretty quickly because of all of those bleeds and stuff. And Domino versus Dragon Man is kind of a very interesting matchup, not something you'll see every day, and definitely not an ideal matchup. I don't remember, this is kind of 2x. Waiting to see how the opponent does is always interesting, but at this point, like, I knew I was ahead time wise, so yeah, I ended up winning that. First one was pretty close, and it comes down to third round. We have 3 defenders. I ended up picking Warlock as a defender, which is interesting. Like I find reviewing Battleground footage very very fun, because I thought the same way about Alliance 4 as well, watching other people make mistakes. When you're watching Alliance 4 videos, then learning from them in similar way in Battlegrounds, you can learn a lot, but you can't really learn that much from this fight unless you don't know how Human Torch works against Mystic champions, because he pretty much just melts them, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. This is not really a fight where there is like Cosmic Ghost Rider is a great champion. He's very fast, and Warlock, even though he can still be annoying on defense, especially in stuff like Battlegrounds, because pretty much everybody has willpower. And yeah, he did a great job there. It was a good fight, great match. The first one was close, the last one he did really really well. It's just like a Human Torch versus Mystic champion. What can you expect? I don't think I've ever lost a Battlegrounds match where I used Human Torch. I don't think I've ever lost a match where I've used Human Torch, period. I was saying used Human Torch versus a Mystic, but Even generally, Human Torch is just great for hands for and stuff. That's why he's always banned, like almost always banned. But anyways, now coming to the picks, Club Obsidian actually surprised me. I think this was the first match where I picked him. It was just for fun. Usually before this, Battlegrounds used to have like safeguard nodes and stuff like that, and you can't really open Club Obsidian properly in those fights. You won't see the big yellow number, but this week at least, we don't have any nodes. So Club Obsidian, actually, if you are just gonna talk about time, actually very very effective. He finishes fights really fast. Of course, you won't be starting with persistent charges, and it is just one fight, so he's not the absolute best, but a lot of armor breaks if you're fighting a Killmonger or something, and the damage is definitely really, really good even without the persistent charges. But I ended up learning from the other person who plays Professor X as the defender. I feel the first time you pick a defender, personally I feel like you shouldn't pick your best defender early on, because usually like the opponent just has the entire deck available, so they'll just use their best counter for that. And if you put that defender later in the second or maybe even third round, they might have used the counter, because a lot of good counters are also viable attackers, I guess. So Professor X, Void, these are champions I kind of place in the first round to see how the matchup is going to go. But anyways, Guillotine 2099, Club Obsidian, I was pleasantly surprised. I hadn't used a Cull in a battleground fight before, and he kind of made a joke out of it. And Hercules versus Professor X. So I finished first. I finished at a pretty good amount of health, so this round should be secured at this point. And Hercules versus Professor X is not the most ideal. Like, Professor X is not a defender for which you need someone in particular. Hercules will do just fine, but Professor X, the falter and everything, it wastes a little bit of time, and he ended up timing out. So yeah, that's a pretty big win for the first round. But look at his health. He was doing really, really well. He almost soloed that. So even if he would have done it based on time, I definitely would have won, but still, it was close. Good effort for sure. And the second round, he ends up picking Mojo. Again, first of all, you should, I guess, ban Torch unless you are also planning to use him. And if you're not, then I don't know, like you can place pretty much any mistake. If I have a Torch, I don't think there is any chance you're gonna win this, unless I'm like get hit by SP2 or something. That's pretty much the only scenario where that would happen, because he usually even ends like I don't even care about the SP2. He used it. I think he died from like the power sting damage, and at this point, like, this was a 15-second fight, ended up with 99.3% health. I remember, if I remember correctly, he's going to have an amazing attempt, and it's Human Torch, a 5-star one versus a 6-star Apocalypse. Yeah, he did really, really well there, but still, that was a very ideal matchup for me. That's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, stay safe.